Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another video. Today we are going to recap week 13 of the NFL season. I am back in the apartment for a little while. Don't expect it for too long since winter break is going to be coming up sooner rather than later, but at least for now, I'm back in here. Anyways, let's get back into the video. First up, on Thanksgiving, we had the Packers beat the Lions 31-24. Now, let's start off with the Lions. Jared Goff, he did pretty well. 20 of 26, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good. And Jahmyr Gibbs did not really have too much of a day, and I think that really was the key point of what happened in this game for the Lions, considering the Lions do tend to rush more than pass. So that did overall help the Lions lose this game. In the Packers, they were able to score on the Lions. And as Jordan Love had 7.8 average off of 30 attempts, 4 touchdowns. The Josh Jacobs also had 4.9 average. And even going to the receiving side for the Packers, 6 receptions, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns to Dontavian Wicks. As for Detroit's receiving, we do have Jameson Williams getting 7 receptions off one with a touchdown, with Amon-Ra not really getting anything considering he got injured early on in this game. That definitely helped a little bit as well. Now, just in general, in my overall reactions to this game, I did see the Packers winning incoming, and we have a good game this upcoming week against the Packers. The Bears versus Packers game is going to be excellent coming up, and you can even see up here 24-15 for the Bears. We'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, that game's going to be interesting. I do think just in terms of the Lions, I think if they do get into the wildcard spot, they're going to struggle to even win a playoff game, considering they just have not won against a winning team since the game against the Buccaneers, and even the Buccaneers struggled in that game, as the Buccaneers hasn't been all too great either this year. So it's tough to say how well the Lions is going to do throughout the rest of the season, and I just don't know if... I just think this is going to be one of those down years for the Lions, and it's hard to tell right now in the future what's going to happen with the Lions, but at least for this year, they're likely not going to do anything at all. And for the Packers, they continue being one of the better teams in the conference, sadly. But yeah, we'll see what happens this upcoming week against the Bears. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Dallas Cowboys 31-28. Mahomes actually did not do all too bad in this particular game. 23 of 34 for 261 yards, 4 touchdowns as well. You also had Kareem Hunt going 58 yards off 14 carries for 4.1 average. That's more on the average side. Rashee Rice was the main receiver. 8 receptions, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And overall, the Chiefs did do pretty well offensively. They just could not do enough defensively to stop the Cowboys. As the Cowboys, Dak got 27 of 39, 320, and 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. So there's at least a little bit of the Chiefs defense in there with that pick. But yeah, they were just not able to stop the rushing game as much, especially Malik Davis, 3 carries, 47 yards, and then Devontae Turpin having 33 off the 3 carries as well. Those two mainly doing most of the rushing work of the big gains. Javonte Williams, he had most of the carries, but he only did 3.5 average, to where it's not exactly as notable. But yeah, the Cowboys, they're in the playoff contention right now. Now, they are still outside. They are even half a game behind the Lions, who's also not in the playoffs right now. However, if they continue to win these games, they easily have a chance at making the playoffs. And for the Chiefs, you're essentially in the wild card race, and you do have very important games coming up, and we'll see how those end up playing. But if you guys start doing well in those ones, that the Chiefs are just not going to make the playoffs, then the Chiefs are not a dynasty at all in that point. But yeah, this is a good game for the Cowboys, and yeah, they might end up making playoffs. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals winning 32-14 against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I'm not going to say that the Bengals did that good. I'm going to say more so that the Ravens did that bad. Lamar Jackson, 17 of 32 for 246 yards. At least that part is good. But no touchdowns and a pick. The rushing game was the bright side for the Ravens this game, with Derrick Henry having 60 yards and a touchdown off 10 carries. But yeah, let's just say that this happened. 4 lost fumbles. And honestly, this is just not even based on the... This is more so why I said that the Ravens did that bad. Because the Bengals' defense ain't really that good. Joe Burrow didn't even play all too well, considering he only had 261 yards off of 46 attempts. And even the rushing game for the Bengals is still a little bit lower than the past few. 78 yards and off 15 carries to Chase Brown. Jamal Chase did pretty good. 7 receptions and off 110 yards, even though 14 targets. But overall, the Ravens shot themselves in the foot. And if this game is an indicator on who will win the AFC North, I still have no clue. Because the other team that's leading is also pretty bad. And we'll get to them a little bit later as well. But yeah, this division is so bad right now. We might even see the winner of this division be like 8-9, or even just say the Steelers are 9-8, because they generally just get a winning record anyways. But yeah, I'm not super high on the Bengals quite yet after this game. And Joe Burrow did come back a bit, and as the Bengals did have a slow start, only getting to 12 points in the first half before getting 20 in that second half. But I'm not super sold on the Bengals quite yet. You know, so they are the ones that would win the division. But at least for now, they're 2 games behind, to where I'm not going to go all the way to that point yet, even though they probably will play the best out of all the AFC North teams down the road. But at least for this week and maybe next week, the Bengals will probably not be like as good offensively as they can be for the remaining 4 weeks. But yeah, that's just going to be my take on the Bengals for the rest of the season here. And yeah, the Ravens just did pretty bad. And then the Bears won 20 against the Eagles, 24-15. Oh man, where do I start? Actually, you know what? I know exactly where to start. We're not even going to a quarterback. We may as well go to this running back duo, 22 carries, 130 yards, and a touchdown for Kyle Monangai. And for DeAndre Swift, 18 carries, 125 yards, and a touchdown. 5.9 average and 6.9 average. Insane. I just love that. If we can do that every game, or at least just have good rushing like this, we're going to do so well. And this game even bumped up my own expectations for the Bears, as I genuinely think now that we can actually win the division. If we split the Packers, just go 2-1 within one of those other games, the Packers only need to lose one of those remaining 3 outside of our games for us to even win the division. So that's actually such a good end to be at right now. I absolutely think that we can. Do I think we will? Maybe. But we have the potential to do so. Going on to the Eagles now, and getting away from the Bears. I could talk more about the Bears, but honestly, I'm not going to bore you guys. If you guys aren't a Bears fan. But talking about the Eagles now, Jalen Hurts, 19-34, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Saquon cannot really do all too much, 13 in carries for 56 yards. Yeah, the Eagles' offense just was not all too great. And if they continue to falter, because they did have the loss with the Cowboys last week as well, you could end up seeing the Cowboys winning the division, which is the reason why I was saying all that stuff with the Cowboys some moments ago. Because the Cowboys are starting to rise, winning against the Eagles and the Chiefs, and the Eagles lost to the Cowboys and the Bears, in which the Bears is a good team. We all are a good team, but the Eagles losing to both of these teams, that provides a little bit of doubt for if the Eagles could end up even winning the division. And I thought a month ago that it was going to be like a lock for the Eagles, to where it would be the first time in that there actually was a back-to-back NFC East champion in 20 years, I want to say. But maybe the Cowboys actually do end up getting above the Eagles. And that would actually keep that streak going. But yeah, I thought it was going to be set in stone for the Eagles to win the division, but not anymore. These past 2 weeks has shown me that the Cowboys are still in it. And yeah, I'm just going to end it off there. We beat the Eagles. We're a legit team, and the Eagles are still, they're definitely going down in the standings. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers. It was win 26-8 against the Cleveland Browns. The 49ers, they actually did not do all too well in this game. Brock Purdy only having 168 yards and only a touchdown. And Christian McCaffrey just cannot run the ball. Last year he was excellent, but this year he's just not really all too great. 53 yards off 20 carries. That is not a set of numbers that you want to see out of your running back at all. And for the Browns, Shedeur didn't play all too terribly. 16-25 is still a good completion percentage. 6 average is more towards the all-white side. Still definitely better than another quarterback this week. But yeah, you really cannot go lower than that particular quarterback. But we'll get to them in a moment. But yeah, overall this game was a little bit more of a news fest one, considering neither offense really got it going. The defense is really did their part. But Myles Garrett did not. Did he get a sack this one? Okay, Myles Garrett did get the lone sack for the Browns this game. But yeah, overall, this game was just not all too entertaining. And yeah, that's all I really have to say with this one. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars win 25-3 against the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Jaguars, they did do pretty well this game. And maybe it's just that the Titans it's not that good. Well, they just have not been all that good throughout the whole season. But this game, I thought this game would have been closer. Because, well, but let's just say it. Trevor Lawrence actually did play well this game. Having 229 yards off 27 attempts and 2 touchdowns. That is generally really good. And he also was the one that did the most in the rushing game as well. But I guess the main reaction that I went have is just how bad the Titans are. Because they actually played pretty decently against the Seahawks this past, last week. Keeping it within 6, yes, there was a punt return in there, but overall, they kept it at least close. This game, they just outright did not do well at all. So, yeah, I don't know. The rushing game was able to get something, but when you pass 38 times and only get 141 yards, that's still not great. And somehow he still did better than that one quarterback I will mention in a little bit. But yeah, I just don't know. Because, yeah, Tennessee also having 2 fumbles in this game. This is such a bad team, and I want to say that they get another win, but I'm not entirely sure if that's going to happen this season. And their lone shot might just be the Saints, because they face Week 17 in a tank of the century. But yeah, I don't know. The Jaguars just beat up a bad team. That's really what happened there. Next up, we have the Houston Texans win 20-16 against the Indianapolis Colts. C.J. Stroud, he ended up doing all right. 276. He did throw a pick in there, though, so it's not like the perfect day. But the rushing game, while not super unproductive, they were the ones that got the 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb and Nico Collins on the rushing side. But Nico Collins was the leading receiver, 5 receptions for 98 yards, out of 10 targets though. But the Colts is just falling off. They really have. Because I expected this kind of result, actually, considering after the Colts' last game last week. But Daniel Jones having just above 50% completion percentage of 14 out of 27. Add one more attempt in there, incomplete attempt, and that's exactly 50%. For only 201 yards, he did throw 2 touchdowns though, so there is at least some bit of that. And Jonathan Taylor really just did not hit a route running either, only getting 4 average, getting 85 yards off 21 carries. I'm going to say it though. The Colts do have the Jaguars this upcoming week. And if the Jaguars win, which it's in their place, and that's where the trend between the Jaguars and Colts usually is, then the Colts are in big trouble. Because the Jaguars has now overtaken the Colts were first in the division. So, and even the Texans are like right in there as well, as they are 7-5, a game behind the Jaguars and the Colts. So you gotta wonder, is the Colts even going to make the playoffs after this big head start that they had? Being like only having one loss throughout in September and October, and now just losing a lot in November. I think that might just happen. The Colts probably will end up missing the playoffs. And yeah, I think the Jaguars and Texans are going to be the main two fighting for the division at this point. And yeah, there's not really much else to say other than the Texans just beat up on one close, because Texas offense isn't really too great. They just won close against a struggling Colts team. Next up, you had a close one between the Miami Dolphins and the New Orleans Saints. Now, this game was closer than 4 points, considering... Yeah, I don't know, because, like, the Dolphins, they ended up getting away with essentially a pick 2 on the Saints' 2-point conversion to potentially tie up the game in those last 2 minutes. But yeah, the Saints, 239 yards out of 38 attempts for Tyler Shough, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. You also had Devin Neal get 47 yards in his 3.4 average, which isn't all too great, but it's what the Saints have at this point. For the Dolphins, Tua didn't play particularly great. 12 of 23 for 157 yards and a pick. Devon Achane continues to be the main focal point of this offense, getting 134 yards and 6.1 average. He's just a beast. He's for the Dolphins. And then we're now getting to the point for the Dolphins where they're going to struggle more, considering we're getting to the point of the year where it's colder weather. Tua's not going to play as well. But at least for this game, he did end up playing all right. He hasn't really played all too well this season, but I guess he's going to play worse. I don't know. Because, like, does he just stay about the same if he's not playing super well to begin with, or does he get even worse? That's a question point for next week, but at least for this week, they ended up pulling off a close win, winning by 4, even though they could have only ended up winning by 2. But yeah, it's just a really close one. Next up, we have the New York Jets beating the Atlanta Falcons 27-24. I'm not even going to get into players to start with. It's time to have a discussion about Raheem Morris. Is he really the coach for the Falcons? I'm going to say this, and you can believe me if you want to or not. I don't care, because I won't be able to prove it, as I have not been doing videos for that long on the NFL area. But when Morris was hired, I was a little bit more on the skeptical side about Raheem Morris, considering he did not do all too well previously. I don't remember what team he was on before, but he didn't do all too well with that team. And we're seeing it again here. So I was a bit skeptical about Raheem Morris, and those thoughts are being proven right at this point, considering the Falcons just continue to lose games. And I know they are a bit injured right now, but when you had those expectations to start the year, granted I wasn't too high on Michael Penix to start the year either, and only get to 4-8 right now, that's even lower than what I thought of the Falcons. So, yeah, I just don't think Raheem Morris is there for the job. Going back to the actual players now, Kirk Cousins didn't do all too bad. 21 of 33, 7.1 average and touchdown. Bijan Robinson was the bright spot for this offense, getting 142 yards and a touchdown. And he even had 5 receptions for 51 yards. So he did do a lot of the work for this game. And the Jets, they didn't even actually do all too well offensively. 5.2 average for Tyrod Taylor, only 172 yards. Breece Hall only has 68 yards in 19 carries, which the rushing game I do really think is missing Justin Fields' presence. But I do think Tyrod Taylor is at least a little bit better of a passer. Do I think Justin Fields still has overall a better shot to win due to the presence of the rushing game that he can provide? Yes, I actually do think Justin Fields is still a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor is for the Jets right now. But it's not my decision. I can only react based on what I think in these games, and the offense just continues not to do all too well. You can see 27 points and... Okay, never mind. I only saw the 1 touchdown here, but they did get 3 touchdowns. But overall, you just don't win all too many games, even with Justin Fields' passing ability. Even if his rushing game is felt. So this is definitely going to be a down year for the Jets. It's been like that all year, considering they were the last team to even get a win. But yeah, now it's just to the point where it's like, how many wins is the Jets going to get this year? And they do have the easier possible game next week against the Dolphins, but that one is still like, who's going to do better in that stuff, but should be more of a competitive game against the Dolphins rather than like an expected loss or an easily expected win. Also loss to the Jets, but yeah, I just don't think the Jets is all too great. And for the Falcons, I'm not expecting Raheem Morris to stay in coach for that much longer. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning 20-17 against the Arizona Cardinals. Can I just say that this game actually did kind of go along with that trend of the Cardinals just losing close? At this point, after those two games was an anomaly, and this week and last week it's just being back to regular for the Cardinals. And yeah, even if the team they face is like that good or that bad, they will just continue to... Yeah, I don't even have to say it at this point. I've been saying it like so many times this year so far. But the Cardinals getting Jacoby Brissett having 301 yards off 40 attempts. So he did pretty good there. Trey Benson wasn't back, but the rushing game actually was there. 5.6 innings average for Bam Knight. And can I just say it? The Buccaneers, they actually... This game also does kind of show me why I don't really trust the Buccaneers. And it's because Bucky Irving He did just come back from injury, only got 3.6 average. Baker Mayfield, this is probably one of his higher averages in the past few games. Let me actually just check, because game log. Yeah, ever since the 49ers game in mid-October, this is the highest average that he has had. So, I've been saying that the Buccaneers are not really that good, and that is exactly the reason why. Baker Mayfield is not really doing all too well this year. And yes, there has been a bunch of injuries to have helped, including missing Mike Evans, who's been out for like forever now, and has barely even played this season. But Baker's has just not really played all too well this year. And it's going to be a tight race with the Panthers, actually, considering the Panthers ended up winning this week. So that if the Buccaneers lose next week, those two teams are tied, and they still have to face both times. So we may end up seeing a little bit of an exciting NFC South clash between those two teams. But at least for this week, they pulled off a close one, even though the Cardinals really do this to themselves every single week. Speaking of the Panthers, they won against the Rams 31-28. The Rams, they did all right. Although Stafford did have 2 interceptions this game, which breaks any streak of 0 interception games that he has had. He had, hold on, when was the last time he did not? The last game he threw an interception was week 3 against the Eagles. And now he went through so many games without an interception. But I guess you can say that this was a down game in that case, for the Rams. I still think they can end up winning the NFC overall. It's going to be a little bit tougher now, but I do think they still can. On the rushing side, Blake Corum really did it throughout for the Rams, getting 81 yards off of 7 carries, because Kyren Williams only got to 72 off 13. And Puka continues to be pretty good, 6 receptions, 72 yards. But let's go to the Panthers now, and the winners of this game. Bryce Young, he got it done within his 20 attempts. 206 yards, saw 15 completions, and 10.3 average per attempt. Wow. Even just adding 3 touchdowns in there as well. And Chuba Hubbard actually did better today. He might end up having a comeback after, as Rico Dowdle has not really been all too well recently. Hubbard had 83 yards off 17 carries, almost 5 average. And the Panthers may end up winning the NFC South. How crazy would it be if the division winners ends up being the Rams, the only one people thought would actually win, the Bears, the Panthers, and the Cowboys? That's an actually realistic scenario, and I cannot wrap my head around it right now. That is actually a really... What is even this season? Anyways, that's actually a realistic scenario that we could see. That's actually crazy. And considering 3 of the 4, I did not think it was going to do, all too well. Even just division winners. It is nonetheless. Panthers that had most in the 7-10 area. Cowboys preseason. We don't even have to talk about that one. But the Bears, I did expect a little bit of a not so great year considering new head coach. For I guess Ben Johnson is one that we would win more with, but I just expected in the Bears to have a more rebuilding year preseason. The Panthers, I expected a little bit more towards the 7-10 range. In the Cowboys, yeah, we don't even have to talk about that one. But let's just say it was like less than 5 wins. But you could diss me in the comments when I recap my preseason picks at the end of the regular season. But yeah, they just are not that good. But yeah, 31-28 for the Panthers. This just shows that they have the fight in them. They could end up winning the division. Still crazy how that could happen. But yeah, the Rams probably had a little bit of a down game. The Panthers ended up getting a big win as they might just end up winning the division. Next up, oh, how bad do you have to be, man? Yeah, let's just get straight into it. And you can see the score, 26-0. You can see the score. You can see what happened here. Max Plasma, absolutely. He just absolutely played horribly. 126 yards off 30 attempts, 4 picks. Yeah, this game was not even close to begin with. And the thing is, I don't even want to. I mean, this game was just so bad. Like, Aaron Jones only got 3 yards. He got injured in this game. Jordan Mason was like the lone blood spot in getting to 47 yards off 6 carries. For Seattle, they actually did not do all too well on offense either, actually. You'd expect with a 26 to seal game that the offense definitely did its part with the Seahawks. Probably not as much as you would think, considering they only got 1 touchdown offensively in that 26 points. Sam Darnold only got 4.9 average and shot 26 attempts, only getting to that 128-yard range. That's not really that good. And Kenneth Walker being the leading rusher, only getting 56 yards off 13 carries. At least that's a little bit more on the serviceable side, but Sam Darnold really has not played all too well recently. And it's a worry for his eventual games throughout the end of the season here, considering they are 9-3. They're likely going to make it in the playoffs. Yet they just could not really do all too much offensively in this game. So it's a little bit of a worry for the Seahawks. I wouldn't stress too much about not making the playoffs, just more so how well you do in the playoffs. Because I don't think the Seahawks really does well. If they continue to win enough games, they could end up winning a playoff game still, like against the Buccaneers, or maybe not if it ends up being the Panthers. But yeah, I just don't know about this team right now. And there's still 5 weeks of NFL season after this, but you really cannot say anything. This is such a weird year to where there's no guarantees at all. Next up, we had the Buffalo Bills winning 26-7 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers just continue to absolutely suck. Only 5.6 average for Aaron Rodgers. 117 yards off 41 attempts. That's really not that good. And Jaylen Warren actually didn't do all too bad, but at the same time, 35 yards off 10 carries isn't like that great either. The Steelers, they're a mess right now, and they might actually just end up being this year might just end up being the year that Mike Tomlin actually has his first losing season. And I'm not sure if Mike Tomlin actually survives past this year as the Steelers head coach. Moving on to the Bills now. Josh Allen didn't do all too well either. 123 yards off 23 attempts. What even is this season? Because, we had Allen not do well. We had Lamar not do too well. Mahomes is still possibly, the best one of the three this year. But the Chiefs aren't doing all too well this year. What is going on this year? But the one positive the Bills have right now, James Cook getting 144 yards off 32 carries. He was the main guy to lead the Bills this week, and yeah, this is such a weird year because I don't know. I expected at least Aaron Rodgers struggling throughout the year, considering this is his last year and that stuff. But I don't know. This is just something is just not right. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. Something's just not right. Next up, we had the Los Angeles Chargers win 31-14 against Las Vegas Raiders. At least this one went more towards the white side. I don't know what happened with the Bill in the Steelers game with Josh Allen, but at least this one makes a lot more sense. Geno Smith did not do all too well, as usual. Only 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. GNT, he continues to be a massive bust. I actually did kind of expect GNT to not be all too well. Even when I was looking at who I think will be good in fantasy, I did not see GNT as a first round pick at all. I really did not. And he's living up to my expectation of that because, yeah, he's just not all too good. But for the Chargers, yeah, they just beat up the bad Raiders team. Herbert having 151 yards off 20 attempts, 2 touchdowns for 1 interception. The rushing game, Omar Hampton should be probably back next week, I think. But in the meantime, Vidal did actually have a good game this week, having 126 yards off 25 carries. And you really cannot say too much else with it in this game because the Chargers just blew out the Raiders like everyone probably could have expected. And next up, we had an insane finish between the Denver Broncos and the Washington Commanders. I'm just going to go into that final moments because in overtime, you had the Denver Broncos have the ball first. They get a touchdown. Then the Commanders got the ball. They got a touchdown. And they went for the win. And they failed it due to a Nick Bonito just block. That was insane. Since I do spot picks sometimes as well. I do spot picks as well, and I have the Commanders is at the plus 6.5, so you can get what I was getting to at this point. But Bo Nix, can I just say that this game actually ended up being better than what I expected? When I reviewed this game in the picks video, I was like, this is going to be 10-7 or something like that. Kind of like the Raiders, the Jets. That's just not a good game. This one ended up being a better game than what I thought it would have been. I am absolutely going to say that. I absolutely thought this was going to be a so bad of a game that I didn't even watch a majority of the first half because I was like, I may as well just not really watch as much. But then when I saw the score and being like, actually more than like 6-3 or something like that, I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually watch. But yeah, Bo Nix did 321 yards off 45 attempts. You saw RJ Harvey not really do all too much, 35 yards off 13 carries. The rushing attack's probably missing J.K. Dobbins, but yeah. We also had Mariota have 294 yards off 50 attempts, which is not really all too great. And the rushing game at least did its part for Washington. But yeah, this game just ended up being a better game than what I expected. And finally, we had the New England Patriots who went 33-15 against the Giants. Yeah, this one was basically a blowout from the start. And Jackson Dart didn't play all too well this game. 139 yards, only one touchdown. And the Giants didn't do all too much in the rushing game either. Singletary did have 68 yards though, off 12 carries, which at least provided a little bit of a spark. But it's a Drake May show, guys. It's getting ridiculous at this point. 282 yards off 31 attempts and 2 touchdowns. And for the rushing game, Travion Henderson got into 67 yards off 11 carries. Like, if there's a team of the AFC that I think would make it to the Super Bowl this year, it's the Patriots right now. Honestly, my favorites right now is the Rams and Patriots, and I don't think the loss to the Panthers for the Rams is like that bad of a loss to change my opinion quite yet. But yeah, I'm going to say it. And I think the Patriots here is going to make it to the Super Bowl in the AFC right now. And if they can beat up on a bad team like this and compete against good teams, they absolutely have a shot. And we might see a repeat of the 2018 season Super Bowl. But yeah, that's my take on the Patriots right now. And yeah, they just beat up the Giants. And with that, that's it for this video. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!